Good morning. Good morning, Schmickles. I already said good morning to him. Good morning and welcome to our little humble abode. This is a little tiny cottage uh, that I stay in. I have, three of these. There's another one next to mine that is exactly the same size as this little cottage. Um, and then there's a little octagon, and we have a little deck that goes out to look at the ocean view, um, which is nice. It was windy. I brought my chair and table down in the grass there because the winds were so strong yesterday. It just was blowing. It was blowing them off the deck anyway, so I just put them down on the grass. Uh, the weather has been really kind of crazy for July. At least we do have trade winds, but it's either really hot and humid and buggy. There's a bug right there trying to get in. Fucking thing. Pardon my language. I squished him. That's what he gets. You're not allowed to come in, bug. You belong outside. Ugh. The bugs, I'm telling you, the mosquitoes, the gnats, there was a time when, when Richard and I used to come over here and have a whole bunch of fun. We didn't stay in Maui long. Our main island was Kauai. We'd ship our VW camper van over to Kauai, and we had a little strip of land there. On the Wainiha River, you can't build anything there, it's because the river rises. That's why it's called Wainiha in Hawaiian means raging river. And does it rage? When it rains, when they get really heavy downpours, that river comes up and washes everything away. Houses, cars, you name it. So it's not a good place to build there. But in the summertime, we used to go there, and the river would be very mild and beautiful and clear. And it would come from the Nepali mountain, and that I'm telling you that river, you'd go in there, and it would cure you if you had any aches and pains, any skin problems, anything like that. You just go into that water, and I'm telling you, it felt so good, and it. I remember one time when I was still teaching, and I was sick as a dog from my stupid students. They were always getting me sick. I don't mean to call them stupid, but I just said they were always sick, and then I would get sick. So I came over, and I had like a bad bronchitis, and I couldn't get rid of it at home. And then I met Richard over there, and I went into the river, and it was during the summer, during our summer vacation, and I went into the Wainiha River where our land is, and I'm telling you, it cured me overnight. That's how fast it cured me. I couldn't believe it. I said, Richard, I'm all better. I went in the river, and I'm all better. But anyway, I'm here, and it's like right now it looks really nice, right? You guys are seeing them. Oh God, get out of here! It's still alive, the damn bug. Um, but I was trying to say that back in the day when Richard and I used to go over to Kauai in the camper van, it was fun. We loved it, and I never got to stay any longer than a month, maybe two at best, because I was teaching, full time. I mean, year round rather. I wasn't a full time teacher, but I taught year round until I had the summers off. So I never really experienced what it would be like to live in Maui or Kauai long term. Although there was the time period in Kauai when Richard and I lived in our VW camper van. It was like 1981, 1982 maybe. can't remember, but it was very early in the 80s because Richard didn't want to be on the Central Coast when they first turned on the Diablo nuclear power plant. And we just thought, oh man, they're going to turn that sucker on, and if anything goes wrong, kaboom, there goes the Central Coast. So we were a little reluctant to hang out when they turned that thing on. So we'd packed up a few things and shipped our van over, and we just ended up living in Kauai for about a year in our camper van. And I'm telling you, we moved around a little bit. We stayed in Molokai too for a while, and that was kind of fun. And then we were in Maui for a while, and then we decided, let's find out what Kauai is. And once we discovered Kauai on the North Shore, that was it. Then we just fell in love with Kauai on the North Shore. We didn't want to go to any other island after that. And we ended up living in Kauai in the VW camper van for about a year, I think it was, that long of a time. And I can tell you, and I told Richard this many times, I said, Richard, when we didn't have a whole lot of money, we were just kind of getting by on a little bit of rent money, because we rented out our cabin home at the time, and to a nice family. And the cabin had just been built on the ranch, and it was kind of sad to have to leave it right after it was like brand new. And then those guys moved into it, and I felt a little upset by it, but because I really didn't want to leave. But then when we ended up in Kauai, man, you couldn't pull me out of Kauai. It would take, as Mick Jagger put it, wild horses to pull me out of that place, because I just fell head over heels in love with Kauai. I just did not. We had such a good time there, and we went through some rough patches over there too, but it was all part of the adventure. And I told Richard, many times, I said, Richard, we didn't have very much money. We lived in that little camper van. How the both of us learned to live in it, and we had a way of keeping everything organized. That's the whole key, because it's a very small space for two people. But we had a way of keeping everything totally organized in there, so nothing got messy. We didn't have a whole lot of stuff. And we ran into some other VW camper van couples that were doing what we were doing. And I will never forget, it was this one couple. They were a nice young couple, but they opened up the sliding door, the big sliding door, and all this junk. They had all this stuff, pots and pans and clothes and guitar and amplifier, and I mean, I don't know how, there's no way they could even move in that van, let alone sleep. And they ended up breaking up. And, well, naturally, if you can't figure out a system and keep everything minimalistic, I mean, you gotta get rid of anything you don't need, and you learn how to live a very simple life. And we did. I mean, Richard and I didn't have a whole lot in that van, and what we had, we kept it very neat and very organized. And but I used to tell him many times, that was the best time in my life when we were living in that van. And it's true. I mean, you could take that beautiful, beautiful, brand new, gorgeous cabin that Richard built on the ranch, with all the creature features, you know, the bathtub, the shower, the big kitchen, you know, everything. And it's really nice and beautiful, but when I think back of the best time in my life, it's not when we were living on the ranch. It was when we were living in that little van, surviving on very little money, and yet it was such a kick in the ass. I mean, we would, and you have to understand, at that time, it was the early 1980s. So no one had really even hardly discovered the North Shore of Kauai at that time. There were very little people, you know, it was a very small population then. They did have Princeville, which was like a big development with nice neighborhood type homes. And Princeville was a pretty exclusive, you know, country club type living. And they had the Princeville Resort, and it was just brand new, right on the ocean. Beautiful, beautiful lobby. Ah, the most beautiful lobby you'd ever want to see. The other company bought it over. I forget now the name of the company. It's a big resort company. They took it over and they changed the lobby, and I thought, you idiots. You know, you turned it into a regular, you know, typical Hawaiian lobby that you see everywhere. What the original lobby was in the Princeville Resort was like walking into a museum of just gorgeous artifacts and paintings, and just, it was just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And we used to go there to have our breakfast. We'd have rice and coffee and hardly spend any money. Rice and potatoes, or rice and toast with some salsa, and it would be like $8 for both of us. On top of that, when our van broke down, we stayed there overnight, and it was only $80 a night. $80 a night. Now it's like $800 a night. Well, you know, back then, $80 was, you know, it was, if you look at, you know, the economy at the time, $80 wasn't cheap back then, but it was affordable, it was reasonable. So, where was I leading to? I was making this video to just say, I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and when I got here, even though there's some very, very beautiful moments here, after Richard died, I would have to agree with him. He lost interest in Hawaii. He just wanted to stay in California on the ranch for the cooler climate, and it just agreed with him much more. And I, on the other hand, was the one that always, I think I wanted to just relive that beautiful time that we had when we were living in the van back in the 80s. And I had that fantasy going in my head for years and years, and I thought, if we built a little house, Richard, you know, it doesn't have to be expensive, just a, you know, very simple structure with a deck, you know, bathroom, a kitchen, something very simple and affordable. And if we put a big deck on and maybe put a hot tub, it would just be beautiful. You would love it. And I tried to talk him into it. And once in a while, he'd be going for it. But he always said, you know, I could never stay in Maui. Kauai was our place. I could only handle being in Maui for 3 days during the time that the van was being shipped over from Maui to Kauai. And when I got here this time without him, and I mean without him, period. I mean, I used to, even when I came here by myself, I used to call him all the time. We'd talk all the time. And this is the first time I haven't been able to call him because he passed away. And I'm just thinking, like I see that it's rough on my dog, the climate here. It's not good for Schmickles. It's definitely not good. Like in the morning, like if he's sitting on the deck and if it's humid, all the gnats start, and even mosquitoes, they try to land on his face and bite him. And I have to put mosquito stuff on his face. And then, I don't know, the weather is weird. It's nice to have the trades, but when the wind comes up really hard sometimes, and it's coming from all directions. It doesn't just come from one direction. It comes from behind you, in front of you, from the left to the right. And if you're standing there and the winds are shifting all around, it can really disorient you. It can make you really dizzy. And so that, it goes through that. And then, it can be sunny like this, and next thing you know, there's a heavy downpour of rain. The maintenance around here is just ongoing. It's just crazy. I mean, you see that vine on that palm tree? That vine's going to kill that palm tree. And my maintenance guy, I tried to tell him, do not let that vine encroach on the palm trees, because it will kill the palms, and then we won't have the coconuts anymore. And it already got a hold of that palm. That palm is going to die pretty soon now. There's no coconuts on it, so it's already dying. It doesn't look like it's dying, but in a matter of time, it will. And I hate that vine. It's like a devil's vine, and you can't touch it. I learned, do not ever take your hand and try to pull it off with your hand, or you'll get these teeny little splinters in your hand, and they have a way of kind of like paralyzing your hand. I mean, you can still move your hand, but it's like it does something to you. What it does is it crawls up everything and clings and sucks the life out of everything that it gets on. Whether it's palm trees or any of the other kinds of native trees, guava, papaya, avocado trees. It will climb up everything and it will kill it. It strangulates the trees. And there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot get rid of it. Once it comes in, you'll never be able to get rid of it. You can cut it, but it will come right back again. And so, I look at all of this maintenance, and as beautiful as the ocean view is, it's very isolating up here. It's on the east side of the island, and I don't have any friends here. I have, one friend, but she's sort of, I've had some. There's an issue that I have with her over the water. I like her, so very much. She's been a wonderful friend, but I feel like Richard and I got stabbed in the back, because I know when they dug their well, they made it intentionally to dig into our spring water, and they just took all of our water from the spring. So there's that, and that's very upsetting. That spring has been down there, and I told Sharon that. I said, Sharon, whatever you guys did to tap into that spring has been ours 50 years. Ever since we bought the land, that spring has been down there, and when you discovered it, and you had whoever, pipe it in, it went dry for the first time in 50 years that we've had this land. And it didn't go dry from natural causes. It went dry because they drilled the well intentionally near it, and now they have a whole bunch of water, whole abundance of water. But will they share it with me? No. I feel like saying, hey, how about sharing the water that you stole? How about sharing my water with me? But I'm just not here long enough to deal with that kind of, these kind of neighborly problems. And the bottom line is, I'm beginning to feel more and more like Richard. This is not a place to live permanently. It just, I kind of made up my mind on this visit this time that I would not want to live here. It will always be it will be nice to come here and visit. It's a great place to visit for a while. Like what I'm doing, if you want to, I can enjoy it for about a month, but I wouldn't want to live here. And I'm glad I'm beginning to really take that in and understand it, because it would be a horrible thing to spend a bunch of money, not a whole bunch, but a substantial amount, to build a structure, and then move into it and realize I don't like it here. I want to go back to the ranch. It's better for me to find out and get my feelings about this now before you do any kind of building. I still wouldn't mind to building a little something for visits, because it's a little hard to live in these tiny cottages. I've tried to make it into like one home, because this one I made into the bedroom. The middle one there I made into like a kind of little studio, art studio where I do my sketches. And then the octagon is like the kitchen and storage. So it's kind of, between the three of them, it's sort of a house, but it really isn't, because the bathroom is exterior. I have to feet to get to the bathroom. The shower is exterior, it's outside, which is all fine in warm climate like this and for a short time. But when you get to my age, how can I put it? Like, young people could handle it very easily. But when you get my age, you want your creature comforts. You need them, and my back is killing me here. And I don't know even why. I mean, I do some work here. I'm always doing work here. I'm always maintaining things. I'm always cleaning the cottages. I'm always painting. I just got through painting both the decks, the center one there and the other one. I'm always working here, and it's hard. It's hard on my back, and I don't know. I'm just not feeling all that happy. So I guess I'll call it quits on that one, and just wanted to give you an update from Maui. It's not all what it appears to be through the tourist stuff. And and if you see videos from real estate guys, they're intentionally trying to bring out the best on Maui, because they're trying to sell houses. So they're not going to show you the problematic side. They're going to just puff it up and say, here's the beach, and here's the this, and here's the that, and oh, wouldn't you like to live here, blah blah blah. Well, they're realtors. They're trying to sell. So you can't go by those videos, and you can't go by the people that come over here to vacation, because they're out having spending a ton of money, going to the restaurants, going to all the little going out to watch the whales, or doing tourist stuff to make it look like they're just having a ball and having fun. But trust me, they're spending a ton of money doing it too. I mean, you don't get out of here without, if they spend 1 week here, I guarantee they end up spending more than $10,000 in 1 week. Easily, maybe even more. Between the rental car and the restaurants, the food, they charge you up up the ante, you know, for everything, and everything's very expensive. So that's another reason why I wouldn't want to live here. Walmart, it's still pretty affordable. They keep the prices pretty affordable for people, for residents that are living here. But yeah, that I just wanted to give you a little reality checkup from Maui to let you know this is my experience. It may not be someone else's, but it's my experience. All right, bye bye.